Good evening, everyone. Hello, and welcome to this Arboricultural Association Wednesday webinar sponsored by Steel. My name is John Parker, CEO at the association, hosting this webinar. Oh, come on, man. Now he tries to perform every week now because I think he thinks he's going to get sausages, but he's not. Welcome. I'm your host for this evening, live from Stonehouse in the UK. Please do say hello in the chat and use the Q&A button for any questions you might have. This evening we'll be hearing from Gerard Passola, who will be giving us a presentation called The Shape of the Crown, How Healthy and Solid Branches Can Fall Inexplicably Every Day. Before that, I'd like to remind you of the remaining 2 webinars left in this series. There's just 2 to go. Next week, Arb Association's Senior Technical Officer, Emma Gilmartin, and yours truly will be inviting all of you lovely people to have a lovely chat about all things arboriculture. I'll be introducing the new strategic plan, and Emma and I will be talking about some of our key priorities for the coming years, as well as offering our thoughts and wisdom on the state of arboriculture in general. And most importantly of all, we'll be answering your questions and hoping, of course, to engage in a great discussion. So that one's next week, and it replaces the previously advertised Lynn Body event. So if you want to see Lynn Body, please don't tune in. You'll only be disappointed. I mean, Emma knows a lot of stuff. Me, not so much. The following week, Wednesday, March the 12th, is the grand finale of this series, Managing Veteran Fruit Trees. Please do join us for that one as well. You can register for both of those. Yes, they can. You can register for both of those absolutely free right now, and continuous professional development units and educational entertainment will be all yours. Not free, but also brilliant, is the Arb Association Tree Architecture and Morphophysiology Symposium. That just trips off the tongue at Kew Gardens, being held on April the 7th and 8th. Check out trees.org.uk for more information about that. Tickets are selling like the proverbial hotcakes, so be sure to get yours now. And there are, of course, substantial discounts to be had for Arb Association members, which all of you should, of course, really be. On to this evening. It is my very great pleasure to welcome tonight's speaker to the virtual stage. Gerard, it is over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, John, for inviting me to be here. So first of all, I have to say sorry for my English. My English is not my mother language, so I will try to do my best because I speak fast but bad, so it will be a strange combination. Okay, yes, like John said, what I want to explain about it's about the shape of the crown, different strategies, perceptions, and something about pruning. Because we, like arborists, have the perception that a lot of healthy branches falls in any storm very often, and we cannot give a real explanation why these things happen. No? And this is very important because the people have a strange relation with trees. Some people really love trees and wants to be in places like that, no? But other people really thinks that the tree is really something really dangerous. It's something that impossible to analyze. No, things happen without being able to understand why. No, and there are different perceptions of the how the risk is associated with tree. No, and this is a nice joke about how no fathers. Put his child away, you know, and how the child see, how the mother see, how the father see. So it's really happens with the risk, and if there are no explanations, it's difficult to sometimes manage or explain or really do the right things. So what we are going to try is to go closely to the this is a wave, no, and but if you make a picture and you stop it, you will see there are a lot of mechanical on that wave, no. And also in the trees, we have been used it to detect cavities and analyze by through resistography. We make tomographies, we make a lot of different analyses, but we sometimes forget, I think, important things on the tree mechanics. All the things, strategies, and variables that we are going to explain in this speaking. Works together. We are going to go separately, point by point, but all the things that I'm going to try to explain works really together. It's impossible to separate point 1 from point 2, point 3. So, and some branches fails because there are of the 6 or 7 points have 2 or 3 or no. So the question that I want to try to answer or help to answer is why these things happen. Because if we don't have an explanation, normally the arborists lose the control of what have to be done in the tree. So, and then perceptions of the politicians, the neighbors, decide what has to be done. So, okay, we're going to begin. The first strategy is very easy one. I think everyone knows that, and it's the optimization of the weight. No, we know that the tree has a mechanosensing. Through this mechanosensing, he can detect where is the force of the gravity working in the body. So he's always trying to put all the tree in the center of the resting point or the base of the tree, because it means that the moment of the weight disappears. Yeah, and this we can see it a lot of times how the tree, if have the possibility, because not always have the possibility, gets this position to reduce to 0 the moment of weight. And this is very important because the tree don't needs to put extra effort daily or every year to restore the mechanical inclination or weight. So we see a lot of times that the tree, when it has the chance to do it, he reduces this weight, trying to be less dangerous or less expensive on reactions. There are a problem with the weight because sometimes the tree cannot reduce it. And there are risky trees or risky branches just associated with the position of the weight. There are no way to know the limit, but exists really a limit for every branch to be too much far away from the trunk. And there are, I think, no rules to say, okay, what is the limit I can let this tree be lateral growing what is the point where I have to limit to be safe? And it's really difficult to find out, but we have to look at that because only the weight working far away from the center can produce breakings. And this is a big tree on Colombia with Carlos, friends of Colombia. They're showing the branch breakage. So it's a natural branch without defect, a perfect wood. This is the color of the natural wood. And this tree falls down. And there are the most important point on that breaking is the lateral weight that the tree cannot support anymore. This is very often happens in very old trees, especially monumental singular ones, like this oak in Italy. Then you can see this big branch and how this branch break down, and there are no defect, no decay, no nothing. So laterality, too much lateral growth can produce breakings without defect. Of course, the defects affects more these kind of branches that are more lateralized. So if we have a very lateral branch with a defect on the base, this is really more dangerous. But without these defects, also branches can break. Yeah, what the tree wants to do is rest, go down, touch the soil, and then okay, the laterality of the weight it's reduced to 0, so I can grow forever without any spending money on that. Related to these big branches that falls down, I really in the last times I'm thinking that the root system works a special role. This is an image from a Quercus suber. It's about 2 meters on the base, so it's really, it's a monumental tree from Spain, from Galicia, really. And 30 years ago, they built this wall here, you can see, and very a few months later, they lose this big branch here. You can see the branch lose it here, yeah? And this is the wall. And my perception is when we have a lateral branch with a lot of weight, with some difficulty from the tree to really have it up, when something in the roots happen, these big branches fell down very fast. So I think there are a relation between losing of big branches, heavy branches on trees, when tree have some affection on root system. Yeah, this is the scanning of the tree. This is the wall. Yeah, you have here the wall. Yeah, the wall. And this is the scanning of the base of the tree. and also the cavity. So we have here the wall, and we can see here how this tree has not grown anymore in that direction after the wall has been built, and the tree has grown only on that direction. So this is related also because all the branches are here. So we can see that the changes on the wall was really big for the tree when they made it. And here you can see the scanning of the tree outside, and you can see here the scanner of the cavity inside. So you can see here how this tree was leaning to that direction. So all the roots was growing mostly on that direction. When they build the wall, the roots begins to grow on that direction. So there was a big change for the tree related to the root system and this growing strategy. So this is another case. This is another monumental tree. It's a fagus. It's the most southern fagus forest in Spain, close to the sea, really, in Catalonia. And this is a very big one and nice, no? You can see all the root system here, and it was checked every 1 or 2 years. And one of these days, this happened. A big branch fell down. This branch break from here. This is there was a defect. There was a lot of laterality, a lot of weight outside of the crown. But what we find is that when we analyze the root system, there was a new infection or colonization of Ustulina deutsta kreshmaria on the base of the root. So again, we find that the root system have something, and the branch, when it was in the limit, falls down. Yeah. So this is a perception. It's not really a law or something that I can really be sure that it happened, but we are finding this kind of breakings associated with losing capacity on the root system. Okay, second strategy, I think is one of the most highly sought after effect, that the tree wants to us, is the aerodynamic capacity. And we can see this eagle, there are only one way to go inside the water without being damaged, and this is changing the shape to the perfect aerodynamic. So the trees knows that, and they feel through this mechanosensing what is the aerodynamic factor that they have, and they try to modify it to be more efficient. This is how the drag factor affects to the wind force to the tree. So it's really important. Okay, wind is the most important, but it's the same, equal to the area or similar in importance mathematically. Yeah. So the trees the tree crown is designed, but okay, first by light, because light, it means being alive. So the first thing that the tree used to design the shape of the crown is light. But the second is the wind or the forces on the crown. And you can see this is a three-dimensional analysis of a Phytolacca dioica. It's a tropical tree from Argentina, okay, that zone. And you can see here how this the wind directions, yeah? And you can see how the tree gets this shape from, if you see from the top, making this wing shape, especially where the wind's done. And look here, we have the sun here. So we have the same shape on the south side, but a little bit more increased because the tree is using both things, light and wind, to design the final shape of the crown. This is very important because when we prune a tree, we need to detect these strategies, and we have to preserve, or you have to promote these kind of strategies that the tree use to be more efficient. So we have really two shapes on the tree. One is a photosynthetical one, where the tree is open, making the photosynthesis, and then have another shape that is a mechanical shape. And the tree changes the photosynthetical shape when the wind increases and modifies the shape to be more efficient to the wind. So we have these two drag coefficients. One is the open one, and the other is the closed one. And this is more or less the reconfiguration of the drag factor that we get from a photosynthetic tree to the mechanical tree. This is the change, the movements on the shape to really adjust the tree to the more efficient shape. Yeah, this is very interesting because women use this kind of information very often. No, this is a very nice comparison between a normal ball, if you want to say it, on a golf ball, where you have these small hollows on the skin, and you can see that the turbulence outside, or the effect, the resistance to the wind of the normal ball, it's a lot more higher than a golf ball. So now, compared to the trees are not really like that, are more like that, because all the leaves work like, like a small hollows that make the turbulences and the impact of the wind on the crown, it's less higher than if it was perfectly close. No. Also, when we design planes or cars, we know exactly where the positions, the shapes that we want to produce to be efficient, on reduce the turbulences, on what you have to do to be the car more efficient, to be effective, and spend less energy on moving it. So the tree makes exactly the same strategy. This is one of the most strange leaves on the wall. This is a Liriodendron leaf. I always has been, wondered why this tree has this strange, like a T-shirt leaf, no? But what they discovered is that it's not my invention. There are a nice article on the net that explains that. This is a shape especially designed to have the biggest proportion between surface of the leaf. It means photosynthetic and less drag factor for reduce the wind impact. So the trees have this photosynthetic strategy and this mechanic strategy. And this is very interesting because in most of the cases, we don't know until very few years ago why this Liriodendron has this special shape. But when I go to the school to study garden and biology and all that, the people tell me, that the shape of the leaves are, like a laurus leaf or like oak leaves. So there are the only two kinds of leaves. So imagine you are an arborist, you can say, okay, this leaf is a mistake. So I'm going to cut with the scissors all the leaves of that tree, because the people teach me that the leaves are not this shape. This is stupid. And I think that nobody wants to do that, because it's a lot of time spending on that. But this will destroy the aerodynamic factor of the Liriodendron. So if I am able to cut all the leaves and change the shape of every one of the leaves, I will destroy the capacity of the Liriodendron to avoid the impacts of the wind. Okay, this is from a leaf point of view. This is a tree point of view. This is a poplar, Populus nigra in Spain, and you can see the shape that the trees get when the wind is impacting that. This is another time a wing shape, and all the branches turn in that direction. If you see that tree from the top, looks like something like that. Yeah. So, and to produce this kind of tree, this kind of shape, the trunk or the tree needs to torsion all the branches to really make this special shape. But if I prune that tree and I destroy some of these branches, the tree is not able anymore to produce this special shape. So sometimes we are affecting through the pruning something that we really don't understand, or something that we don't know that the tree is using for. Okay, this is a simulation between moment on the base of the tree, just in the formula that I showed you before, modifying the drag coefficient. So if we put a normal coefficient, this is the moment on kilonewtons meter that we get on the base. If we increase artificially the drag coefficient, we get an extra really big moment on the base. So drag coefficient really affects the capacity of the tree to be safe. Only how the shape is working against it. So for that, the tree, normally we get the trees has this kind of shapes. Finally, when you get this is the most used shape of the trees, because really is what is more efficient aerodynamically. This is very interesting. This is a multi-tool from Matek. Matek is I think one of the most interesting investigators on biomechanics, because he describes really good a lot of tree strategies, and he detects how tree optimize the shape and of the trunk, branches, units, everything. And this is a look. This is a araucaria tree and a quercus robur. Normally, everybody can say, okay, there are different species. Yeah, But the strategy is exactly the same, because who designed the shape of the tree, it's not only the genetic, is the response to the wind, light and wind. So we get the Quercus robur, Araucaria araucana, totally different species, conifers, all more new on the evolution, really gets the same shape because it's designed by the wind. Oh, but okay, you can find also these trees, but including on that shape, you can see that these angles, this kind of way to construct the crown are still there and in mostly of the trees. This is a Quercus ilex, also in Spain. This is a drago tree in Africa. That's exactly the same shape. And here you have a tilia, a pruned one, a pollard, in front of a Pinus pinea. And you can see here, like the crown of the Pinus pinea is exactly the same of the tilia. So look, the two different spaces again is using the same strategy to be efficient on the wind's impact. So there are no way to prune trees without knowing that there are special shapes that help trees to be efficient on managing winds. When the wind is really, really high, we can see that the tree gets this special, really, really extreme form or shape to reduce the maximum, the surface affected by the wind. No? And this is the perfect shape for that tree. There are no another one. If I modify this shape, I will destroy the tree. This is an example. This is a monumental tree on Portugal, in Porto. It's a tree direct close to the sea. The winds come from the west, that direction, and this is the shape of the crown. Yeah. And if I see, if I see these trees, you have two crowns. No, one is parallel to the wind, another is perpendicular to the wind. So this is against the wind from the west, and this is perpendicular to the wind. This is from the south. So you can see that the light is making the tree bigger on that direction, and the wind is making this tree narrow in that direction. So this is important, because when we have to analyze that tree to decide what is the limit, the mechanical limit of these lateral branches, we have to understand that this branch is not on the wind, it's hidden from the wind, so we can let the branch grow faster. And perhaps the most dangerous branch on that tree can be this part here or this part here, because these really are affected by the wind. This is the most the biggest adaptation of the trees to the wind, and this is the drop shape, and the drop shape gets a drag factor close to the 0.05. We say before that the normal drag factor for a tree is 0.2, between 0.2 and 0.3. So imagine when the tree modifies the shape until that limit, how is the savings on the reactions on the tree working against the wind. No? So this tool is a very interesting tool to work to understand trees. It's not a pruning law, it's just to understand trees, to say, okay, what is the shape, what are the angles, I can find the angle on that tree, what is the wind. So it's a very nice way to analyze trees, to avoid or to help them to be more efficient on the wind. And we have to be able to, when we look at the tree, detect these profiles and say, okay, there's a nice profile here, there are some branches out of the profile, so the wind will impact here more than the rest of the tree. So one of the ways of being more safe is pruning that branches, and we get a perfect shape to reduce the aerodynamic factor. For all trees, this is more complicated, but also when we analyze the different crowns that the tree can have, we can get these different, crowns that everyone has his own shape or his own profile. But also we find trees that way, without any aerodynamic strategy. So now this tree really it fell down. It fell down 2 years ago in a storm, but the capacity of the tree to avoid the wind's impact was really very, very low. Normally the pollards has with a lot of amount of access made by the pruning, has problems to be efficient on the mechanical when are older, because the light is the first architect, and the light goes faster. It's more important than the mechanics, and the tree prefers to be alive and dangerous than be dead and safe. So in a pollard trees, when they are old, the mechanical has more problems than a natural tree. But this is for individual. Also, we can look at groups of trees. We can see like that all the group of trees makes share the same crown in order to make this lateral works, and we get this shape, this cupola shape, like it was only one. Yeah, and also again we can find that we are a species that is more high, it's more in the middle, so there are less light, and the light makes that the tree goes up, and this is an impact zone. This doesn't mean that it's dangerous, just is a more impact zone. But if we are in a city or we are managing strange trees, or we can use that information to avoid or reduce impacts on the tree. When we find this kind of trees, a group of trees, is a group of Pinus we have to see again that they make a profile, and it's very important to detect that this profile has to be wall. It means that we cannot affect the limit, the ends of this profile, because here is where the tree, the group of trees, it's destroying the turbulences that can produce the wind at the end of the shape. So if you let this tree be here, we can get this kind of profile of the wind. If we cut this, we can get this kind of profile at the end of the shape. So this is going to destroy or affect more this zone than if we leave it. So this ugly tree, that's very poor tree, this is the less wonderful of the group, it's the most important on that side. Yeah. This is another time a group of trees, a plane tree close to the road in Spain, and you can see this line that defines the limit of the crown for all the group, and this is really made through mechanosensing. The mechanosensing is the how the tree detects the impacts on the crown, and how these impacts design the final high of one of the every branch. And you can see this is the wind impacting on a mountain. You can see the shape is very close, and if we put together both shapes, we can see that the tree it's on the comfort place. Yeah, it's put it on the place where the wind doesn't impact at all. So this is very important, because the tree knows exactly what is the safety and what is not. So, and of course, light demands, it means that the tree can change the behavior and get more risk to be more efficient. But in a good conditions of light, the tree makes this special, incredible shape, detecting what is the place where I'm good to be. Okay, we are using that kind of information to really reduce risk without making a big prunings. And this you can see what is the original shape of this lateral forest on plane tree, and what we make when we make the pruning. We just try to make the profile of the forest most linear, where there are no places where the wind can impact. Okay, the shape is not only the important point on wind, also the impacts or the position where the tree it's planted. It's very important. So normally the cities block the wind. So inside the cities there are less wind. So we can see here this wind going up for the buildings, and also we get this shape because the tree follows this kind of strategy. So we can say that inside the cities there are less wind, and when we analyze trees on the cities, we have to be able, okay, this tree is protected, it's not protected, there are a building protecting that, there are something that make that this tree is more risky than the other one, only for the risk impacts that we can detect on the environment. Because in the cities, there are not only less wind normally, but we can have places where the wind increase for the, tunnel concentrations of the area of the street, etc. No? So in some places of the city, we can have higher winds than a normal place. So turbulence is something that we have to think about it. It's impossible to calculate, except if you got a really, really crazy computer and you spend a lot of time. And it's very strange behavior, but we must be taken in account that exists and make impacts, different impacts, increased impacts on the tree. So difficult to calculate, but easy to understand qualitatively. Yeah, so we can say, okay, this is strange, but I know that we produce this kind of formula. What happened with the tree? It's been impacted by a big wind, or the aerodynamic factor is not correct. what we find is this kind of breaking. Perfect tree without any decay, without any symptom inside, outside, that it breaks, totally destroy it. And this is because the capacity of the tree is being has been lower than the impact. Yeah. Okay. Third strategy. I repeat again that all these strategies goes together. There are no laterality without aerodynamic. There are no adaptation without aerodynamic. It's all together. But I think this is very interesting because in some cases, we are producing risk very often in the cities or in the gardens where we work. And the reason is because the tree, what we say before, has this mechanosensing strategy to detect what is needed in any cell, in any part of the tissue of the wood. So, and depending where the tree is working, on the branch, in the color, in the trunk, we have different strategies, tensions, compressions, torsions. So the tree is making in all the places where there are living cells, detecting the mechanosensing, it's making a cell answer. Yeah. So when the tree dies, normally we can see these strategies that they are hidden on the wood, and we can see how the trees split out, in the different directions, and when they dry out, we can see the initial internal strategies that the tree develop. Yeah. This is a nice branch that they get from a Sequoia giganteum. And you can see here the tension and the compression. And here you can see the neutral fiber on the middle. No? And you can see how when you see how the wood is breaking when it dries out, you can see that there are these different strategies of making the wood, because it breaks out in different ways. No, you can see in the tension more cracks, more close, or in the compression more separated cracks. So something has to be here. I don't know, that it's making that wood breaks in different ways. Also, we can see some lines here that I really don't know what is happening, but surely there are something inside that makes that this branch dry out in that way. There are nice studies about how the tree changed the elasticity modulus, or the angle of the microfibril, or the density of the wood, depending on the position, inside, outside, higher, lower, more young, more old. So, and all these studies show that there are really anisotropism, a big anisotropism on wood construction. And this is very important because it means that the tree is detecting always what it happened around, and it's making a new ring with the translating the information that he get it to the specialized wood. This is a big tree also in Spain. Now it's gone. It was a Tilia monumental one with a lot of defects. There was cable, decay, ganoderma in the base. Okay, but it was checked every year to make prunings to reduce the crown. And in a moment, the city decides to prune that plane tree on close to that Tilia. Yeah. And this is a stupid prunings that we still have in Spain sometimes. Okay, but okay, this is okay. It's a problem for the plane tree, but it was only for the plane tree. This is the Tilia. The picture is really bad because I get it from newspaper. But 2 months later of making this prune on the plane tree, the Tilia falls down. And okay, you can say, okay, it was decay, it was a lot of problems. Yeah, it's true, but it was there the last 30 years with these problems. And what you make is you change the conditions of the environment. And when you change the condition of the environment, you make the tree weak, because it doesn't know that the wind in that place can go farther or higher, and it's not prepared to that. So how more old is the tree, more time needs to readapt to the new situations. It means that you cannot do everything you want around the tree, because the tree is going to be disadapted. Okay, you saw this picture before, no? You can see this strange shape break it, and it's a casualty because I go to the forest to see that tree, and 2 years ago I just go back to that forest and I see the same tree break it. And you can say, okay, it was a defect here. No, it was not a defect. It was something strange, not common, but it was not a defect. It was a reaction of the tree, good reaction. What happened in this forest is that they cleaned the forest, cutting some of the trunks. So there was a misadaptation of the tree to the new situation. This is a real case on Spanish city. This is the number of trees that normally falls down in a year. Yeah. It was in 2016 about 500, about 2017 about 700. Here in the 700 was a guy was killed for a tree, for a branch of a tree. So next year the tree decided to make a really big reaction to that danger that the tree generates to the people, no? And they got 7,000 trees and they prune really hard 20,000 trees, spending this amount of money on studying and cutting trees. And this is the 2018. This is 2018. It means that if you don't understand the tree has adaptations, has a common shape with trees around you, and what you make is generating risk with your stupid prunings. And when you have an extra reaction, a higher reaction to the risk, you produce risk. So be careful with adaptation, because in a lot of cases, healthy trees without problems, without defects, or with low defects, just go down because somebody cleaned the tree or cut another tree around, and then something magic happens that the tree that I really leave, because the good one, it breaks down. Okay. Connected with this reaction to the tree, I want to talk about something that I really like it. It's liquid. I call it liquid wood. It's something interesting, and this have this incredible shape on the wood, no? And what who makes that? It's the cambium. The cambium is using the information from the living cells, and it's designing the grain of the wood. And it looks like, look, this is I think it's Jupiter. I don't know, but it looks the same. You can see, you know, this turning on the way. So it's a very common way of being on the nature, this reaction to the these vortices that you can see on the wood. Okay. This is very interesting because who designed this the grain, this kind of grain, it's the cambium, as I say, and the cambium used the information of the cells, and the cells generates the information depending of the mechanical stress on every point. And you can see here this is the same branch of eucalyptus. It's about 10 centimeters wide. And you can see this is the four sides of the branch. And you can see how the grains is modified. And it's very interesting when the people that study the flux of the flow of the water, the flow of the gases, the flow of the lava, or any kind of liquid, can find that you have a laminar flow, like here, and you have a turbulent flow, like here or here. So tree is making same reaction on something that is crystallized, because when the cambium makes it's almost liquid, and the concentration of auxins it's almost liquid, because it's a liquid that it moves on the wood. And this is what the cambium reacts. So it's very interesting how, I don't know exactly what it means that, but it's very interesting how the grain of the wood made in the cambiums reacts all the force vectors. This is the force vectors, laminar force vector, and this is a turbulent force vector. Yeah. And so we can find also in trees laminar force vector, straight fibers that goes following the vector of the force. And also we can find places where there are some chaos. There are no information. This is the vector of the force, and places between two vectors where there are the information here. It's just chaos, and the cambium doesn't know what to do and make these vortices. This is very typical to find in the junctions of the branches. But not only here, because what you can find in very strong places or in very weak places. This is a callus, a tumor, on a small ball that you can pick up from the bark. If you put out the bark of these small balls that the tree produce, you can see the same vortices again. But this is a place without any mechanical needs, but we have the same shape. And on the right, you have a cactus. Yeah, you have the same shape. Yeah. And here this is very interesting, because this is a eucalyptus that died suddenly. It was a special one. And if you can see how the tree breaks, you can see that the wood breaks on that direction. Yeah. Look here. But it's strange, but the last year before the tree dies, change the direction of the vessels. And you can see over these cracks, the vessels going in totally a new direction. So before this tree dies, something happened on the tree, something happened on the information that the living cells give to the cambium that changed the behavior of that tree. What is that? I'm not knowing that, but it's very common that you can find in all trees that suddenly 1 year change the vertical vessels to lateral vessels with special lining, and it happens in 1 year. And for me, it's the beginning of being ancient or being senescent, but it's just a theory. I cannot really put effort on that. This is a very interesting article, very old one, that explains how the cambium designs the fibers, the grain, depending of the auxins patterns on the wood. And this is an experiment. They cut out a piece of bark and they analyze how the tree modifies the bezels, and they find out 1 year later, these are the direction of the vessels, avoiding the place where the bark has been put it out. But if you substitute this piece of bark with a substance, a gelatin with auxins, all the vessels go to the gelatin of auxins. So this explains how the cambium use the auxin like a pattern of construction, the grain of the wood. And this is very interesting. Okay, this is a Kramer, a very nice article explaining all that. Okay, for strategy, because I'm getting a little bit late, I think. So this is all the theories about the Ken James. I'm not going to be long on that, but I think it's very important when we analyze trees, natural trees without defect, we can be able to analyze the resonance and the damping capacity of the tree. And this is a very nice picture how the people construct the buildings on snowy places and how the trees are totally different in the way of they being constructed. Look, all the trees without the snow and all the houses full of snow. So perhaps we are not able to understand the trees because we have a human strategy to avoid the snow, totally different from the trees. No, okay. Ken James explains. No, this is different kinds of trees react in different way to the movements, the oscillation of the wind, and has a damping effect. No, and the resume of the Ken James is that how much branches I have, more damping capacity I have, so I will have less oscillations, less resonance on my movements. And this is something that we have to analyze qualitatively on the trees. This is an experiment on a pine tree, and you can see here the different oscillation of the crown. It was pulled and then cut at the rope, and we get this oscillation on the pinus. And you can see more or less about 8, 9, perhaps 10 movements of the tree every time less because the damping is working. So it means that after second 106 to second 120, it means that there are almost 25 minutes of movement, of movement. So after one wind impact, this tree is going to be moved during 20 seconds, having this oscillation, every time less. So if the tree repeats the impact every 2 seconds, we can get the same, the double movement because we have the movement of the tree plus the impact of the wind. But it's not only every 2 seconds, can be every 4 seconds, or every 6 seconds, or every 6 seconds. So if the wind impacts on the tree when the tree is going, so we get perhaps extra impact and we can break the tree. So the damping effect on trees is very important. So when we decide to prune a tree, how much living branches, but also dead branches we leave it, we are increasing the damping effect and we help the tree getting to the zero positions as fast as possible. The humans know exactly what is damping, and all the big buildings have these special damping strategies to reduce the risk of breaking. And it's very interesting because if you go to that building, I think it's in Taiwan, you will see that there are these cables that is hanging this 200 tons ball, but it's moving, but it's needed. we need that this ball moves. So if imagine that you arrive here, you're an arborist, you say, okay, this ball needs an anchor, so I'm going to block this movement, you break the building. So in some cases, we don't understand the damping effect on the tree. We put an anchor on them, and then the tree is going to break because we block the damping capacity of the tree. Okay. When we can see this reduced damping capacity is in retrenching branches, because normally the branch that is in retrenchment, they lose the lateral branches, so it's losing the damping effect. So branch that is retrenching normally increase the breaking, not only because there are no money of the tree on that branch, but also because losing the lateral branches increase the resonance and the oscillation, and finally breaks fastly. Okay, strategy number 5. This is a very interesting way to look at trees, is the roughness or slenderness. You know that how much big you are compared with your height, your safety factor is higher. So this is very interesting way to analyze tree, just the comparison between diameter and height. Frank Green speaks a lot about this, and he put a lot of importance on that point. No, and when we analyze the trees, we will get these two kind of trees, no? Roughness trees with a high capacity of accept defects, or slenderness trees with a very low capacity to accept defects. And this is very interesting because only visually you can say if the safety factor, the normal safety factor of the tree, is high or low. And it's not only for trees, also work for branches. So it's very interesting when I'm pruning a tree, when I'm working on trees on a tree group or an individual one, that I have to be able to analyze how slender or how rough each branch or a tree. Matek make a nice proposition of limit. No, what is the limit for a proportion between height and diameter? And it's about 50. From that point, for a isolated tree, tree growing alone in a place, this is more or less the limit where the slenderness begins to be complicated. Okay, there are a bit really roughness tree. This is a Oaxaca tree on Mexico, one of the most wonderful trees on the wall, and this is a slender trees. Yeah. Also, the slender trees give us something interesting to analyze trees. This is a shyness. Shyness is something that Francis Allais explains, and it's very interesting because the tree makes this puzzle shape of the crowns, because they moves. How more slender the trees are, more movement, so the shyness increase. And the shyness is something interesting that help us to understand what is happening with this forest. For example, you have a very geometric shape here of the shyness, very regular. So this means that the forest is still stable. But look, this kind of shyness, it's very strange. There are places with a lot of space, places with less space. So I think this is not a stable forest. These have problems of breakings or dying back or something that is making gaps on the surface. And look, for example, this another one, pain tree. Look, the space that has here generated by the impacts of the movement is removed from that direction, moves on that direction, and it's making this, plays around. Okay, so it means that the tree cannot be alone, and this is how the neighbor trees help the stupid one or the weak one to really be safe, blocking the movements. No, so I cannot put some of this tree cut it because the rest can have problems. No? This happens not only between trees, also between branches. No, some cases we can get this shyness. No, between branches, it means that something is happened because the tree wants to be compact, to be aerodynamic. So when we get this strategy of the tree, we can say something is happened. And look, here is what is happened. We are pruning here, pruning here, pruning here, pruning here. That it's cutting the ring branches all along the branches. We are putting all the weight on the end, so the tree can only work on that point. So we are making the tree more lateral, more weight, so we see the shyness appearing. So the slenderness is really a problem, and because it's a low safety factor for any situation, wind, snow, ice, everything. And the forester people knows that, because the wind is the most the big enemy of the forestry people, and they really analyze what is the planting distance to really make a good population of forest. No. Yeah, so we get some breaks sometimes, no, and we can say, okay, no, it's because the healthy trees can also can break. Yeah, okay, but if we analyze the tree, you can say that we can see some pruning here, and here, here, and here, and here, and here. So we make this tree slender too much, and then it breaks because it was not able to go down because it's a conifer. You can say, oh, the natural trees also fell down. I say, it's a natural tree, really? The tree wants to be higher like that? Perhaps not. This is a pruning on a Celtis, and you can see how the pruners are cleaning the branches up. And this makes these branches really slender. Look, the diameter of the branches here or up are mostly the same. So we are producing slender branches that have a low safety factor because it's characteristic. So we are making natural dangerous trees because it looks natural, but it isn't. So why we do that? Because it's a static point of view, but the tree don't need it. We don't need to affect the tree because the tree is able, through the mechanosensing, to build the most perfect crown to be efficient. And we don't understand, like the little dendron leaf, we want to cut the edges of the little dendron leaf, or we cut the branches of the tree that we don't understand what they're doing there. This is the drag coefficient increase when we clean a tree to make more porous in that. And this is how the drag factor increase. Of course, we are reducing the area, but we are increasing the drag factor. So the tree is less efficient on working on trees. This is okay. I'm going to go through that. So it's very important we understand that the tree produces these really reactive crowns to be able to work on risk, and everything is there. It's produced by the tree if the tree is healthy enough. Okay, another strategy that's interesting, it's sometimes the age modify the characteristic of the wood. Here you can see the different rings of a quercus, and you can see here how the quercus has healthy ones or young ones has piece of wood, early wood with a lot of vessels, and then the late wood with a lot of wood. This is more mechanically efficient. This is more physiologically efficient. Oh, sorry, physiologically goes with P. So, but when the tree increase the age or it's more weak, the proportionally reduce. Yeah, this is 2/3 of the ring. This is almost half of the ring. Yeah, this is a little bit less of half of the ring. So mechanically, the rings of the quercus that it's getting older or weak are less strong. And when the tree gets in moments where it's not able to put late wood, the density of the branches of the quercus are really, really weak or more weak than when it's young. That is very interesting because quercus is a tree that makes a nice sprouting system. So for trees, not a problem. When I have a dead old branch, it's going down vitality, it's also going down in mechanics, but it's not a problem because I'm able to make new sprouts and make a retrenchment crown. And this is ficus, for example, has the same strategy. This is the stressed phase affected by the work in the city, and this is the normal phase. You can see more vessels or less vessels depending on the strategy. But let's talk about pinus. The conifers is different. The conifers has also early wood, more specialized on physiology, and late wood, more specialized on mechanic. But when the tree has problems or it's very old, what it happens is totally opposite. They make only few early wood, and the rest is late wood. So when a pinus tree or a conifer tree is getting old, every time it's more stiff. And it's very interesting because the tree cannot make a sprout, so they don't want to lose all branches. And it's very nice how you can see the trees. This is a dendrochronological analysis on pinus. You can see these young rings, mature, and this is all. So we can go to here and then to here, and how much late wood we have in proportion, more strong is the branch. So we can have a young branch of a pain tree breaking when it tries to go down for the weight, for the wind, anything. But if you look at all trees, you can have strange branches hanging, exposed to the wind without breaking because the density is totally different. So a young tree of pinus can lose young branches, but the old tree don't wants to lose all branch. So that's how this kind of trees appears. This is a monumental tree, now it's dead. But you can see these Pinus alepensis, that the branches were here. These are branches of 60 centimeters diameters on the base. The tree is able to go down slowly that branch and put it on the soil. And now you have all these branches here, leaning here. And it's only because this is an old tree. This was a young one. It's not able to do that. When he puts the branch down, it breaks. This is the strategy of the quercus. Yeah. Okay. Sprouting is also a strategy for the mechanics. This is a very nice picture that help us to understand how sprouts help to the residual wall to be increased. So this is a Prunus pizardi tree that we cut in the middle to analyze the distribution of the decay inside. And it was really nice to see, and the colors of the pizardi is really nice wood. So we can see the old tree here. You can see the old tree here, yeah, with a lot of decay because it's normal. It's an old tree. The fungi go inside. There are some pruning cuts, so the fungi is there. But look here, this is a sprout, and you can see here how sorry, the pencil again. You can see here how is the residual wall here associated to that sprout. And this is the residual wall associated a zone without the sprouts. So that's very interesting because a lot of people used to put out the base, the bottom sprouts on branches and trees. And what are we doing is eliminating the strategy of the tree to increase the residual wall, especially on the base of the branches. And this is very important, because people wants to clean the fork and the main branches, no? And this is where the tree needs to put the sprouts because it's where the moment of the wind, it's really putting pressure. So we need to leave really these sprouts on the base of the branches because it's the most important ones, not physiologically, because perhaps doesn't give a lot of sugar to the tree, but gives a lot of capacity to really support the efforts. Again, we can see this residual wall here, how the sprouts really increase the capacity of the base of the branches to be efficient enough mechanically. Okay, we know that the fungi works. That's it. These lady fairies are here. But the tree has strategies to compensate this colonization, and it's repeat again in trees that kind of sprout. The strategy of being efficient is making sprouts, losing some branches on the top, getting more roughness, and in pine tree it's getting more density in order to I'm not able to sprout, so I need to be more dense to avoid breakings. So perhaps I go too much fast, but I was really worried about my capacity to concentrate all in 1 hour. I begin the conference having 300 slides. At the end, I get to 110. I think you can hear it again if my English is not good enough or my mistakes has been modifying the way to understand you, but thank you all for listening. Sorry for my English, my mistakes, and especially for my speed and speaking. So if somebody wants to make any questions through John, I'm to your disposition.
That was brilliant, and you definitely don't need to apologise for your English. It was fantastic and just the right speed, and you finished bang on an hour. So that is a professional performance indeed. Thank you so much for that. Wow, lots for everyone to think about. We'll send you the chat afterwards, and you will get to see how much everyone enjoyed it. Brilliant stuff. If anyone's got any more questions, do put them in the Q&A, and we'll work through what we've got. We have some here. I'll just go from the top, I think. Matt has asked if you think it's worth considering the species-specific resistance to wind when planting. I think wind is something we don't normally think about when we're looking at species selection. But do you think that's something we should be doing?
Yes and not. Okay, it's true that there are species because genetically or ecologically has been exposed typically, and you can see big differences between salix in under the snow or under wind or in the water. So they change totally the genetic. The genetic of the tree is really different. But I think it's more. So it's you can see it. You can look at that. But for me, it's more important the reaction, the mechanosensing of the tree really change the tree characteristics. And so really at the end, it's a combination of my genetic capacity and my knowledge of the environment around. But I think it's good to know it. For example, you get plane tree, it's good to have in the limit of the city, and you can put the populus inside. It's less, less strong. But I'm not really. I don't know. I'm not sure of that because you can see in the rivers and the plains, populus very alone, totally exposed, working perfectly. So I think the reaction is more important than the species.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. John has asked, is there a danger that by imposing our idea of an ideal canopy shape on a tree, that we can alter the internal dynamics of the crown and then reduce the mass dampening? Obviously, we look at a tree and think about how we want it to be, and then we shape it to be like that rather than just seeing what it wants to do. Is there a risk there, as John describes?
Yes, I think it's one of the most problem with the pruners, because when you have a scissors on your hand, it's difficult to don't make you clack, 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 because you are there and you want to make it the most work. And it's very important to understand what I'm going to do in a tree, what I'm making. Is a dangerous pruning for dead branches? Okay, this is one thing. I'm going to manage the shape. I'm going to manage the the height of the crown to let the buses go under it. So before I go to a tree, I need to say to myself what I'm going to do in a tree. What is my objective there? You have only one thing to do in the tree. It's risk. Okay, risk, it means impacts from the outside. To manage the outside only. If you think that the branch is dangerous and you have to cut it down, perhaps you have to readapt the rest of the crown because you're making these adaptations of the rest of the tree. And it's very important to analyze that after you cut the branch, you need to look the tree again and see what happened with my tree now. What is the shape? It's now efficient on the aerodynamics, or there are some slender branches inside that was protected before. So please make you this explanation to yourself. I'm going to do that on that tree because this is what the tree needs. Don't clean because I'm there. Don't go up because I'm there. Just try to be trees. Okay, trees in good conditions doesn't need pruning. The trees that needs pruning is the tree it's affected for competition, problems with light, something that make the tree doesn't can be efficient mechanically. Also all trees, of course, or in a city everything can happen. But if you look at a natural tree, it's perfect, except if something make the tree risk more than they want to. So this is what we have to detect and say, okay, the tree is risking too much on that position because of light. I want to reduce this branch 10%. I don't know if I really answer.
No, I think so. Thank you. On a kind of similar question, it's an anonymous attendee asks about dead branches. Do dead branches in tree canopies have a significant dampening effect?
Can have, of course. This is really genetic point of view, because if you see a plane tree, it's difficult to have dead branches inside, at least in Spain. Very clean, tree with a lot of movements, very elastic. If you look at a pine tree or a cedar, it's full of. So really a genetic way of being. So if you go a forest of a pine tree in Spain, there are a lot of them. You can see how the dead branches are still there, and when the tree is moving, the branches impact. Not only the damping, it's also because they block the tree moving farther. So the dead branches, in some cases, are very important for the tree. So I'm gonna say, if you want to clean a tree from dead branches, the first year you can make 20% of that one. Next year, another 20%, because the tree, if you clean from 0 to 100 or 100 to 0, you will break the branches, the green ones, because the green one is moving and touching the dead one. And if you clean it all, sure, you will make a breakings. So if the tree has been pruned always, you can put dead branches, of course. But if you want to go to 100 to 0, you are making a bad thing on the tree. Yeah. Also, a way to know if dead branches is dangerous, just to try to break it with your hand. Okay, not this big one, but the wind can make less force than you with your hand. So all the small branches, if you cannot break it, the wind cannot do that. So leave it.
Thank you. Ward has asked about your approach to managing branches when you want to recreate the canopy of a tree that's been pollarded all of its life. We see this a lot. There's, trees been pollarded. Lots of our North American friends don't like it. We do it here. I know that Gerard was out looking at some very ancient pollards just a week or two ago. But sometimes you do want to restore that canopy if you can. How would you go about doing that to a tree that's always been pollarded?
The problem of the pollard is that when the tree it gets the maturity and the senescence really fast, because the competition between branches, it's a good strategy to manage trees, but it has a limit on time to repollard again. And when you cross that limit, that it's not really close, it's just at 1 year. When you close that, the tree has problems because you have normally not really healthy branches for the competitions, especially on fagus, for example. And also you have a slenderness branches because the competitions makes very high, so it's the safety factor is normally low. And when you have this after you are out of the pollard process, you have really difficult ways to readapt the tree a natural shape. It is not impossible to have a natural tree. What you can have is something looks like natural, and you can reduce the amount of branches, you can reduce laterally a little bit, you can increase the light on some places to get more vitality. But for some species, it's easy. For quercus, for example, they really make a new natural crown, quite natural crown, but not in fagus, not in fraxinus, for example. So try to don't lose the turn on the pollard trees, because after that you have a lot of work. You can do it, and try to use all these strategies that I just explained to help the tree, reduce the impact, crown shape, everything, But pollard trees, when are all difficult to manage.
Thank you. And if we look right at the other end of the life cycle, at the planting stage, a couple of people have asked, Gavin's asked about your thoughts on the formative pruning of young trees, which are grown in a nursery and then moved out to its final position. And Leo has asked the same question, really. Would you say that a large part of the damage you're describing is done in the nursery before it ever goes out?
Yeah, this is a big problem, I think, all the world, because the nursery people wants to sell big trees. So to sell big trees, not really high, have to prune it, all the branches every year, and every 2 years, and reconstruct it. So this is not a natural tree. What you are buying on the nurseries is a totally artificialized tree, because they cut it every 2 years and then make a new crown. They make it really good, looks very nice, but it's not a natural tree. And one of the risks of the trees pruned on the nursery is that I get too much access. A normal tree, when it's young, has one axis. So I think, like for the pruners, the most important work to be done on formative trees is to get one axis until, or 2 or 3, if it's a park tree. For the streets, we need one axis. So the most important is to get only one axis, because it means 100% of light for one branch. If we have 3 branches, we have 30% of light. If we have 10 branches, we have 10% of light. It means fight. It means laterality. It means less efficient, less vitality, more disease. So it's very important that the amount of branches in the growing process, the first stage, has the less amount of access.
Makes sense. Thank you. We're going to ask the final book question later on, but a couple of people watching, I think they've seen your bookshelves in the background, Gerard. They're asking if there's any book recommendations that could go with your presentation. Where can they learn more?
Really, I pick it up from a lot of people, Matek, Fran Ring, with Ted. I learned thousands of ideas. This is a mix that I've been preparing for the last 2-3 years, and I didn't really get it from one book or one history. I think the only way is just to try Kenneth Allen, Francis Allais. There are a lot of people, but I don't know if there are a book that can explain all these situations. I'm sorry.
No problem. Are you going to write one?
Yeah, when I get pensionist.
I know there's at least 600 people here who would definitely buy your book if you were to sell it right now. Okay, Chris Natman. Hello, Chris. Chris has asked a good question, I think. How do we differentiate when crown reduction can help the tree by optimizing the crown shape and wind resistance, or when it's going to increase crown stiffness and create greater wind force? Is there a way we can sort of target our management techniques by identifying when it would help and when it wouldn't help?
Yeah, normally all the tree pruning for safety are from outside to inside. You have to compact crowns, not open crowns. Most of the people try to open crowns to make the wind goes inside without making, but it's not possible. When the wind goes 100 kilometers per hour, it's not able to get the gaps. And what you produce when you clean the tree, when you make safety pruning from the inside to the outside, is you make big gaps. The branches increase the movement because there are less neighbors that stop them. So the pruning for safety is from outside to the inside. And there are a nice way to calculate the amount of reduction that you have to do using the Wesley proposition about the moment of the base and diameter and slenderness and all that. But mostly when you reduce a 10% of a crown or a branch, you get an increase of safety factor of 30%. When you reduce 20% of the height of the branch or a tree, you get an increase of the safety factor of almost 70%. So I think more than 20% of reduction is a bad practice, because you don't need to give 150% of extra safety factor. This tree is falling in front of you if the tree needs a 30% of reduction. So prunings goes between 10% for prevention, 20% for correction, and always from outside to inside, trying to reduce slender branches, trying to compact the crown, trying to... There's only one exception to that. If I have a big problems on the color, for example, I have girdling roots or incredible decay or something like that, in these cases we destroy the mechanic of the crown, making gaps on it to let the tree lose branches without impacting the color. Yeah, when you have a big problem in the color, and we need to put the breaking point not in the color up, so we destroy the mechanical strategy of the crown, making big gaps in order to let the tree lose some branches before it breaks the color. This is, I think, the only exception when you want to clean trees. It's only because you have to protect the color. But if the color is good, the trunk is good, there are no defects on the base, the way to work on trees is follow this shape that Matek describes really good, and going always from outside to inside without cleaning any inside.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We've got so many really good questions, and we're not going to be able to get through them all, but they will all go to Gerard afterwards. Samuel's asked about your comment about too much work being undertaken at one time is a negative thing. And Samuel's asking about halo pruning. So I'm sure everyone knows what halo pruning is, but clearing out an area of trees around a veteran tree, for example, to try and give it a bit more light and everything, something that we certainly do here in the UK sometimes to try and improve the chances of an ancient tree thriving. Samuel's asked, can that be dangerous to the ancient tree? Because you're balancing the need for light and opening it up to light, but then you've also got the wind buffering. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a problem when you make a ring to clear a ring around a tree because it's too much trees growing, young ones going higher and putting out the light. We have to go very, very slowly and go branch by branch normally. We in some cases what we try to do is not cut the tree, just try to kill the tree slowly. So we are going to make this process of veteranization of trees around, and we make some cuts on the base, ring cuts on the trunk to make the tree that are around the big one that we want to protect die slowly. It means that we are going to change the conditions very, very slowly, and the impact will be less. But of course, it's a big risk of accident if it's a windy place. If it's a windy place, it's not okay. It's less important, no. But it's a windy place. When you clean things, you expose things. Any kind. If you work on branches or you work on trees, doesn't matter. So, and a veteran tree normally has less capacity, needs more years to really readapt. So in a young tree, in one spring, it's able, because it's the proportion of the new ring compared with the rest of wood, it's a lot. But for all tree, the new ring, it's very few compared with the big structure that it has. So it needs more year of readaptation. So I think it's have to be very slowly all the works around tree cleaning or including inside the tree cleaning. Yeah, there are nice experience on a championship on climbing. There was in a forest of pinus, and the climbers cleaned the 5 pinus to make the different competitions, through line and all that. After the championship, 3 months or 4 months later, there was a big storm on that forest. The only trees that break branches was the 5 that the people clean to make the championship. So it's a demonstration that when you clean a tree, you can break things. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Oh, it's too much to think about. Look, you've made us think, Gerard. We don't like that. It's too late for us to be thinking this much. Here's another good question. They're outperforming themselves today with questions. Philip is asking about protective tree tubes and staking and how they can affect the stability of the tree when they're removed. And there's a big discussion going on in the UK at the moment about the importance of removing stakes before they start causing damage to the tree. There's lots of stuff on LinkedIn and all that kind of thing at the moment. And Philip's asking about, when we grow those newly planted trees on with stakes, we remove the stakes. Is that increasing the risk to the tree if they haven't been able to develop that additional reaction wood for stability?
Yeah, of course. But we have 2 problems. When we install it, if the tree is not adapted to have a blocked place on the trunk, we can break the tree just when we install the pole, because it's a change on the movement, the normal movement of the tree. We block it, so we can break it in the installation, and also we can break it when we put it out, because the tree has no reaction. So I think we put poles on trees. We have to sometimes, because the wind is very important. We have to put some elastic connection between the pole and the tree, because the tree needs to feel the problems. If the tree doesn't feel the problems, don't have any reaction. So it's basic that any system we can use have to take in account that the tree needs to react. It's like a child. If you don't force a little bit your child to grow, they will be a 40 years old baby. So you need to help your child not to be more every time more independent from your help, like the trees.
And you should always cut the tree stakes off your child before they get too old. Otherwise, they'll complain. There'll be all sorts of unpleasantness.
Yeah, you have to. It's important.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you be safe out there, folks. Okay, there was another one I liked. Where are we? 10 minutes left, blah blah blah. Where did I lose one I like? Ah, here we are. One from Andrew. Andrew mentions the slide you showed where a pine tree had failed across some railings, and you commented that the pruning had contributed to or caused the tree to fail. And Andrew's asking, how do you know that if the tree hadn't been pruned, that it wouldn't have failed anyway, and in fact, it may have failed at a lower wind speed?
I really don't know. I really don't know because this slide I think is what he says, no. But the question is, we need to give an explanation why trees fell down, and we have to differentiate natural trees of artificialized trees by pruning. And it's very important to make this difference because if we don't make this difference, the people will think natural trees can fall down very easy without any explanation. And this gives us a very bad solution for any kind of problem. So we really have to differentiate trees that have been growing without any intervention. The trees has a special shade because the prunings that we make on that. Yeah. So this is a case of a garden where perhaps this tree has been in a forest of pine tree, and now that all the forest is gone. It's the same. I'm not saying that only the pruning is the way to make things be unnatural, but any change we make around or inside the tree can make something that looks natural that it isn't. And then we say, no, it's natural trees can fall down too. Okay, I'm not agree with that. I'm not agree with that. When we analyzed something people call natural trees, we find out that they are too much slender because they prune too much time the lower branches, and the heights, it's more high than it's needed. The tree have to be there because that's no way to be down because it's cutted. So it's like this another, you can see this is natural celtis. It's not a natural celtis. Looks like, but it isn't. You can see all the pruning doing around around the they clean all the lower branches on that celtis. It's not a natural tree, and it's very important to recognize that because the natural celtis has something that it's more roughness in the base, and this tree doesn't have it, and that's made only by pruning. And this is very important to differentiate because not something something break, and we cannot say, oh, I don't know, it's something sometimes happen. No, sometimes happen. No, if you prune a bad tree, you get a break-in because you make bad things on the tree, because you make unnatural trees. Looks like, but it isn't.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, I had a question and it disappeared. Right, well, we've got time for a couple more, maybe. Natalia has asked about root pruning and what sort of percentage of root loss during root pruning can affect the critical stability of the tree.
Okay, this for us is a really new theory that we are working out. So we are not data to that. But what we are thinking is, first of all, you need a big branch with a lot of laterality, a lot of weight, so that it means that we have to put a lot of effort daily to make it safe. So when you have these big branches with a lot of weight, with a lot of lateral position, no, out of the crown, so it means big impacts on wind. The tree have to put a lot of effort daily. So in that cases, when you affect the roots, because you make compaction, because you cut it, because you put too much water, I don't know, any situation, the tree fast, it's not able to make enough reaction and the branch go down. And this is not for all the branches. Of course, if you got the rod, something you affect on the tree, but especially for big branches or veteran trees, natural trees, when you affect the roots, all the branches that are in the limit will fall down very fast if the vitality of these branches is being reduced for this root affection. It's all theory, and we are trying to work a little bit on that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Right. There's another question I liked, and it is from Paul. I think Paul might have had a couple of questions tonight, but that's okay. Paul said, I've been testing various forms of tree grafting onto middle-aged and mature trees to see what takes and how it could help defective structures. Do you think we can help trees that aren't aerodynamic with grafting? So I guess what Paul's suggesting is if we have got these gaps or there's been crown lifting that shouldn't have happened, the tree isn't recovering by itself, could we look at grafting onto the tree to give it that little helping hand? Interesting idea.
It's an interesting idea, really interesting. Grafting is something, yeah, very interesting. But okay, for normal trees, I think it's really specialized method to work on it. So I think if you have a trees with a lot of gaps, if it's a conifer, it's a problem because grafts doesn't work quite good, and also you don't have the capacity of the tree to make sprouts. For the broadleaves that make normally sprouts, I think the easy way is reduce slowly, to get these aerodynamic shapes and try the tree let time to put new branches on the gaps. And the problem of the grafts that, in my opinion, I'm not really expertise on that, but I think that not all the grafts have the same longevity. Like the connection sometimes cannot be longer as the normal branch. So, for example, when you have natural anchors on because two branches make an anastomosis on the crown, this is good for the tree because reduce the movement. It's very good, but sometimes this connection dies, and then the living branch go down because it's like you put an anchor and you put it out. So grafts or natural connection are good, but the problem is when you lose it after 20 years, 30 years, you get a problem really.
Mm-hmm. And as you've just mentioned natural bracing, I'll just ask one question in from Gavin, because Gavin's asking, well, he's saying he'd be interested to hear your thoughts about using dynamic cable bracing as an aid for a maturing tree that's recently been exposed to wind by the removal of a nearby tree or structure. And again, we often hear here in the UK, when is it right to brace? When is it not? Should it be static bracing? Should it be dynamic bracing? Obviously, different answers for different situations, but what are your general thoughts?
My opinion is if you can work by pruning, try it, because pruning is something that put out some force of the wind on tree. If your amount of pruning doesn't affect the dignity or the value of the tree, try it by pruning. If not, of course, you have the strategy of the dynamic. It's interesting because let some branches movement, but you stop at the moment, on a certain moment. But every time more we are thinking that perhaps the statics on the base modify less the damping effects on the branches. So you make less mistakes on the statics on the base than in the dynamic on the crown, because it's more difficult to to understand how big or how long are the movements on how the tree is moving on the top of the crown. The problem of the static on the base that it's more slave to the tree, so the tree really it's more adapted to the static and so difficult to put it out. But in order to make less mistakes, it's better to go a little bit down, more static, than up with dynamic. But of course, there are hundreds or thousands of situations, and it's difficult to put it. But try to think to put a little bit more down, or you can put a dynamic intention, not in 2/3, in 1/2, or in 1/3. So it's something that help a little bit. It's like a static with anti-shock absorber or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, we're pretty much due to finish now. I will just finish with a comment that Reg, who is speaking at the webinar, not this next one, but the one after that, Reg made a little comment in the Q&A. He said, I'm so impressed with Gerard's presentation. I'm lucky I heard some of it in Spain recently, so I've had time to digest it. What I love about it is Gerard has original thoughts based on observation in the field, which is backed up by photographic evidence. It's therefore very hard to argue against. A powerful lesson to us all. Thank you, Gerard. I completely agree with Reg, as always.
No. I have to say, I learned to look at trees through TED. So it's just a seed that I grow perhaps a little bit, but something I didn't invent it. Yeah. Somebody gave it to me.
Brilliant, thank you. And also it's been suggested, and I'm going to ask you in front of all of these people, it's been suggested that maybe you'll come back in the next series and do another webinar for us, possibly about transplantation or something like that. You fancy it?
Anchors.
Yeah, anchored. Fine, let's do that. Awesome. Everyone, look, he agreed. We saw it. So now we just, in the very, very last minute, I will ask you the main question. And you may have already given a little hint to your answer, I think, but what is your favorite tree-related book?
Okay, I read it very a month ago. So I read the tree time from TED. I was for me, it's not only trees, it's people, history, cultural. So I think it's a nice way of thinking about trees. Tree time from TED Green.
A great answer. Available from the Arboricultural Association bookstore anytime you like. Brilliant answer. Thank you. Look, what an amazing webinar. Thank you so much, Gerard. That was genuinely brilliant. We've had 94 webinars. And I'm not going to lie, that was one of my favorites. I thought it was fascinating. So thank you so much for that. Thank you to, and I don't just say that every week. They know I don't. That was brilliant. Thank you, Gerard. Thank you to all of our fantastic audience and for your wonderful questions, which will be sent on to Gerard so he can have a look through them. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please come along and see me and Emma next week, because if no one turns up next week, we're going to be sad. And you wouldn't do that to us. So you have to come and listen next week and the week after about managing veteran fruit trees. And apart from that, I will just say have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Gerard. Thank you, everyone, and good night.